Join me as we look at SH Figuarts Ultraman Blazar.
It's morphin' time!
Special shout out to our channel members, including Infinity Wartorn, our Sound Squadron captain. You can join for as little as $1 a month down below to help support the channel, as well as get cool perks. Hit the join button to find out more details. Hello, this is Soundout here, and welcome to my review of the SH Figuarts Ultraman Blazar from Ultraman Blazar. This is, of course, the title character of the series. Nice shot of him on the front here. This is the actual suit, whereas all the other shots, like there's the suit, but the other shots around here are the figure itself. He is molding, movable, and option parts, options. It's pretty standard Ultraman packaging at this point. I like the consistency they've kept, especially with how they've kept the boxes, for the most part, wider as opposed to the smaller ones they tend to go for. And unlike a lot of recent Ultras, he comes with the Tilsonite Sword in the box, which is really, really nice to see. So let's take a look at Ultraman Blazar. So this is the newest Ultraman himself, Blazar, everybody's favorite caveman. He is such a strange Ultraman when you look at not only design, but like the way he acts. He jumps around, he roars, he's making weird faces, he spins his body in strange directions. Blazar is not your typical kind of stoic, heroic Ultraman. He's a little bit of a chaotic guy, and I think that's what makes him so endearing. And what also really adds to that is the design itself, because most Ultraman, use silver and red as their basis. Blazar's primary color is silver, and then he's got these red and blue lines all the way up through the chest, across one shoulder, but mostly only on this side of the body, and then this flame design up at the top. And that's what I think is really, really cool, is the fact that he's got such an asymmetrical design. It's very uncommon for Ultraman. And for SH Figuarts to go in and do this with painted silver detail and then a plastic overlay on top just adds to it, in addition to all the paint down here. And it does seem like Blazar's brought the best out of everybody, because the Figurized standard model kit also has this level of color separation, and that's a model kit. So it's really impressive. One of the details you don't see as much in the show is how jagged his spine is. Usually they're pretty smooth. This one's pretty out there. And also the way that the lines carry across the back. The red and blue of the fusing of Gento and Blazar is essentially what is being represented here. And I think it just adds to just this overall really solid design. Asymmetrical designs don't always work for me, but on this guy, it totally does, just because of how unique and interesting he is as a character. And that goes down to the color timer as well. He doesn't have the standard 3-minute limit that a lot of Ultramans have. His color timer only flashes when he's low on energy. And so as you can see, it's a very different design as well, because it's not the standard little circle, but it still is very reminiscent. It's like breaking the Ultraman design formula without breaking what makes the Ultraman design formula work. And I think that's something that a lot of designers could take a lot of note from. I think it's what makes really cool about Blazar is that it's not your typical Ultra, but it doesn't look out of place with your other Ultras. And that, I think, is what's really cool. He's unique without totally breaking everything that people love about Ultraman. Also, I did forget to mention, but proportion-wise, he feels pretty solid too. Sometimes Figuarts can get lanky or stocky. This one feels about right. But let's go over the articulation and see how well he poses. So first things first, up at the head, of course, you get your standard lower ball joint and then upper ball joints, so you get all kinds of movement at the top and bottom of the neck. You get shoulder joints that move out. There is kind of a collision going on with the shoulder, but if you bring it down and bring it out, it gets out a little bit farther. It can't quite go all the way like perpendicular, but it does at least come out at least that far. This isn't like a separate piece up here. He then has a ball joint here. This allows the shoulder to move forward as well, so you can actually get pretty far reaching forward, which is really nice to see. He does have like a shoulder rotation, then a double joint elbow, but the double joint elbow only goes about that far, kind of due to the cut in the design, that's about as far as it gets. It does have a slight rotation there as well. Then you have a ball joint at the wrist, and then it also has an additional pivot and rotation, which is really, really nice. You got an upper torso ball joint. It doesn't have as much room as some others, but you did notice that there is painted detail. So if you notice here, it does have painted details, so as you move that ball joint around, it's keeping the lines intact best it can. Like obviously, the side to side you can't really do as much, but just tilting it back is not going to break up the design pattern, because they added those extra layers that they didn't need to, but it adds to the overall cleanness of the design and the premium feel of the overall figure, so it's nice to see. And the same thing goes for the back. Like this is like center, and then there's still some adjustment there. Really cool stuff that I like to see. Same thing down here at the waist. He's got a ball joint. It's not as intense, but there is additional line painting down here and on the back. So again, it's trying to keep that overall line pattern intact as much as possible. Hips move out about this far, which is pretty good. What they end up doing is you can actually pull them down and they can go, you know, that's as far as they get. But you can pull them down so he can do like high kicks and stuff and high, you know, wide leg stances, which is really important for Blazar. Not all Ultraman Figuarts do the drop down. Only some of them do, but this one does on both sides, so you can really get his hips down and out, which is really, really nice because that's what Blazar does. And then the thigh swivel here also works. And again, they kind of kept the sculpt underneath and the paint for the lines, which is much appreciated. Double joint knee goes about that far, kind of standard for Ultraman Figuarts. The not so much forward, but a little bit back on the ankle, a little bit left and right, and a toe joint kind of keeps it all nice and solid. So what's great to see is that they did think about Blazar as a character when designing the sculpt, when designing the joints, because he does need to get kind of like down into these really crazy crouched poses when he's doing like normal stuff, because this is normal for Blazar. So it's really nice to see. But of course, what good is all those articulation points without some accessories, especially in the hands department? So let's take a look at those. Now, fists on an Ultraman's a pretty standard loadout, but with Blazar, it's funny how much he doesn't actually just straight up punch stuff. He kind of slaps it more than anything. But of course, you do get 2 fists. He comes with these flat palmed hands, which, yes, that means if you wanted to, you could put him in the traditional Ultraman beam pose. That just looks wrong for him. What the heck? That doesn't feel right at all. Blazar does way crazier stuff than just standard beam poses, but you can do it if you want. So these flat open relaxed hands, which are painted on the inside just like all the open hands, really good detail Bandai. These are definitely for Blazar's iconic kind of stance pose, like when he's getting ready for battle. And I think we can get him lower. I think we can lower the Blazar. There we go. You can get some really deep posing with those hips. There we go. Like he is, you know, he's doing his kind of like warm up thing. Like his arms are always kind of moving a little bit. And it's just really cool. Like that's his iconic like fighting stance for the character. And the figure is designed to replicate that, which I think is really, really awesome. These hands are also good for the beginning part of his pose where he does this, which the figure can actually pull off. Nope, no stands, no hands. He's standing. That's pretty impressive. Though doing the second part of the pose is a little bit harder because he's kind of like, he's reaching out. He would be a lot more crouched down, but the torso, the only moves about that far. It needs to be like there so he can like come up from that. But it's so cool that they have the articulation design that you can make parts of what are really intense poses that the suit actor does in the series, and the figure is able to recreate pretty much all of them. There's always one set of hands on Figuarts that don't seem immediately apparent what you're supposed to use them for, but these are kind of like, they're not quite grip hands, but they're not quite splayed open. So I found them to be kind of useful as like, you know, when he's holding something in one hand, just have the opposite hand doing this, just to give it a little bit more dynamicism, but they're not exactly like, oh, I know exactly what those go for. All right, so then we got these grappling hands. He's got his like fingers all flared up, ready to just like grab something, which is really, really cool. These are fun. It's fun Blazar-y like things. The grapple hands are also good if you want him in a pose where he's summoning the Spiral Blade, which is his initial weapon that he has in the series. He doesn't come with the Spiral Blade, which is a little bit of a bummer, and he doesn't come with any beam effects because of that, but at least you have the hand options for it. I imagine maybe the Spiral Blade will be with a future figure, but unlike Zet, Trigger, Decker, Taiga, who came with only hands, Blazar does come with one of his weapons. Yes, Blazar does include the Tilsonite Sword in the package, which I think looks so cool. I love the design of this sword in general. It just looks really, really cool. One of the neatest parts about it is the fact that it is kind of practical. It does come with 2 holding hands, by the way, for this. I just wanted to make it dramatic. Anyways, you look at the sword itself, you're like, okay, cool, blue blade, silver accents, brown handle. But the fact is it actually is clear plastic on the blade. So you can see I tilt one of my lights down, you can actually see the clear plastic. It doesn't show up like in most lighting conditions because it's just going to show up a little dark, but it actually is a clear plastic blade. It's got that nice blue color to it, which I think is super cool. The other cool part too is while the handle doesn't pull, the actual gemstone here does spin. So it is painted gold all around, or a purple gem, and it does spin like it is activating. That's just a neat little like tactile thing. It doesn't really serve any practical purpose, but you can spin it around, which I think is just super cool. But yeah, it's really nice seeing a modern Ultraman Figuart come with at least his main weapon. Like, you know, I understand the practicality of this guy in particular. I don't think he could come with the Spiral Blade and beam effects and still stay at about the 7,000 yen price because, well, I mean, look at all the paint. The paint alone on this guy will cause it to go up. But I'm glad they gave us the sword because the sword is such a cool detail and such a cool thing in the series itself. And it just it opens up the possibilities for his poses. He's not just in standby battle poses, he can actually do some cool stuff. Now, the only minor complaint is the opposite holding hand can't really grip the little handle thing there very well. It's just a little too small, but I wasn't really going to pose him like that anyways. Blazar's final accessory is pretty standard for the Figuarts Ultraman, which is the swappable color timer. You can pull the blue one out, and then you can put in a red one to show his power draining, which I think was pretty cool. You know, I kind of tend to only use these when I have like them in Ewing finishers, but for Blazar, he doesn't use it that often, so I'm probably going to stick with the blue, but I like that it is still an option all this time later with the Ultraman Figuarts. They always have the option to swap out the color timer, and unlike some others that are really tiny, this one's really big and easy to swap. It's kind of like Zet's. Zet's was super easy too, so I like having that option. Now, size-wise, here's Ultraman Blazar with his predecessor, Ultraman Decker. So yeah, he's standard Ultraman Figuart size. Let's get Decker slightly standing up a little bit taller here. Yeah, there you go. So you can see that Blazar is a little bit shorter, but that's kind of just appropriate to the way the suit actor portrays. We likely won't see Blazar in crossovers anytime soon, so, you know, we're not exactly sure how tall he would be next to Decker, but I do think when you have, like, the characters posed, he is going to look good. And for a lot of the time, too, Blazar is going to be, like, really crouched down. He's not going to be standing still, but, you know, they do look good together because they are part of the same line, which, yeah, it's Figuarts. They all scale about the same. And then, of course, because I love doing this, Kamen Rider Geats Magnum Boost and Kuwagata Oger. So it's what was then the current Toku lineup for the main 3 shows as of Blazar's debut. And again, the Ultraman just scale a little bit shorter than the Sentai and the Rider ones. But it's just really cool to have Geats, Kuwagata Oger, and Blazar. And, you know, eventually maybe we'll swap out Geats for Gotchard. But, you know, when Blazar premiered, these were the current shows on the air. And it's nice that we got at least the leads from those as Figuarts. So overall, Ultraman Blazar's SH Figuarts release is terrific. While there is other options like Figurized Standard or the Ultra Action figure for Blazar, the Figuarts is kind of what I like the most. The articulation boost plus all the paint. And I mean it about the paint. You don't usually see that many paint apps on a Figuarts release at retail at normal prices. They didn't really mark him up because of the extra paint. And yes, it would have been nice to see a spiral blade or some effect parts for like his rainbow attack thing. It's nice we got the Tilsonite Sword in the main package. We've been doing the scavenger hunt thing with Ultra accessories. I'm just really glad to have this sword. It opens up his possibilities so much. So overall, I highly recommend SH Figuarts Ultraman Blazar. It's also really nice to see the main Ultra of the current show not be the weakest figure of the year for the Figuarts like it has been for a while. I've always felt like, hey, Bandai, I know you like this 3,500 yen premium price thing, but just give us some accessories and charge the 6,600 or the 7,700 yen, and I'll be happy. And that's what they did here, and I'm pretty pleased with my purchase. What's also really cool is that Earthgaron, the support robot for Blazar, is also retail, and he's coming out next month, so you'll want to stick around, hit the subscribe button, the notification bell, because I will be reviewing him. Hit the like button if you enjoyed this video, leave a comment down below and ask me any questions you may have about the figure, or what other Blazar Figuarts you want to see. I'm pretty sure Blazar Frydran armor is almost 100% happening. We'll just have to see if he's going to be retail or P-Bandai. If you'd like to help support the channel, you can join for as little as $1 a month. Check out the details in the join button below. You can find our Discord server, discuss Ultraman and all kinds of other things in the link below. Check out my live streams Mondays here on this YouTube channel, 5 p.m. Eastern for Ultraman and Figuarts news. You can also check out my awesome graphic designer on social media and Discord at DarkClaw643. And you can find Hero Club at hero-club.com for tokusatsu news, interviews, and more. And until next time, this is Soundout saying goodbye.